Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons, and as part of the Geospatial Frontier, we've brought in TerraGo on with us. And here from TerraGo is Scott Lee. So to start off, I wanted to, Scott, if you can introduce yourself before we get into who TerraGo is.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background back in the early 90s, I joined the Navy as an all-source analyst, went through all of the motions there. Training up in Dam Neck, Virginia, spent some time on the USS Mount Whitney, which was actually stationed up in Norfolk for a while, did a couple of North Atlantic cruises and the like. Then decided to stay in so I could finish up school. And they shipped me to Omaha, Nebraska. And before that, I went to imagery school. So I was one of the few sailors out in the Midwest, in the middle of nowhere. But I was an imagery analyst and also an ELIN analyst on a deployment to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I got out of the military, separated in May of 2001, just before everything hit the fan. But I went to work for ERDAS at the time, subsequently Leica Geosystems, filled a number of roles there in training and then into international business development because of my background to work on the defense side. I moved into a project management role with the ADS-40 and ALS-50 sensor systems. So I did a lot of travel globally, helping manage those installations of those very sophisticated sensors. In 2007, I came to work at TerraGo. So running on 13 years now, a little over 13 years, I've been with TerraGo, started in a technical role, and then moved into more of a sales position and customer satisfaction position about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I believe it was. So I've been with TerraGo here in Atlanta, Georgia for the past 13 and out of the military separated, but still keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the DoD and the IC. But right now I'm responsible for all of the federal programs that we are involved in around the world.
Well, thanks for that intro for yourself. I'm actually a little fascinated because I don't get very many Navy imagery analysts on board, and I don't think we're used to hearing folks from the Army and the Air Force talk about their experience with imagery, even the Marines. But at some point, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that background and experience from that side of things. But to dive into TerraGo a little bit more specifically, who is TerraGo? What kind of products and services do they provide?
We started, TerraGo was founded in 2005, so we're 15 years old. The technology began with what a lot of people understand as GeoPDF technologies. We have two business units really. One is on the file-based workflow, which is GeoPDF capabilities. We offer a plugin to the ArcGIS environment. We will have a plugin for ArcGIS Pro actually in August. So that's one of the new enhancements that we're going to be announcing here shortly. We have a plugin to the Adobe Acrobat environment as well to do a number of different things, geo-register existing PDF map products, or put the magic little token inside of the PDF file so that it works and interacts with our toolbar. Inside of that Composer product as well, there is a 3D capability to aggregate LiDAR content or elevation data with raster products, just standard imagery or scanned maps or whatever the case may be, and just kind of stack those on top of each other so a user can have an interactive experience. It's not really a simulation environment. I classify that into two different categories, simulation and visualization. We're on the visualization side so that a user can see a specific area of interest in 3 dimensions. We also deploy in our mini coordinate display on a GeoPDF file. We also display the elevation values, so you can actually do some pretty nice things with 3D GeoPDF product. A lot of people aren't familiar with TLMs, especially when we get into operations and in a remote location. A lot of people don't understand a TLM type map. So being able to deliver a 3D product and have that product interactive is really a game changer for a lot of the users. We've done a lot of other things with GeoPDF, incorporation of OGC Geo package so that you can actually view and query all of the attributes inside of a standard product. A lot of different enhancements that are going on. Still making enhancements to the TerraGo Toolbar as well. The second business unit that we really address is more around crew applications in the smart utility space. There is all of these smart devices and smart nodes that are being installed on top of utility poles or light poles. There really needs to be kind of a chain of custody or an understanding of where those assets are throughout the supply chain. So we actually have built over 40 customized mobile applications just for those crews that go out to the field and need to install these smart nodes or maintain the smart nodes. You can imagine that there is a pretty tight integration on the GIS side with those requirements. So we're business partners and technology partners with Esri. We also have a technology that plugs into BAE Systems Socket GXP product and their WebView product to create those same type of interactive 2D and 3D GeoPDF.
So you would say that you integrate, you don't stovepipe people into an ecosystem. You help integrate within their existing workflows, and the analysts can take advantage of what you have with GeoPDFs or those other services to help standardize the production workflow to their customers, so that you're not, it's outputting in a million different formats normally, but at least a GeoPDF you can distribute and people know what it is and send it out the door as a standardized product, right, across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really the nail on the head. We're not a GIS company, if you will. We're really a data sharing and geospatial collaboration company. I know that's a mouthful, but the products that are being provided to the end user are really, they're not designed, the deliverable product is for an end user. It's not necessarily always for an analyst. And an analyst has all of the sophisticated tools, the ArcGIS, ArcGIS Pro, whatever instance or software application they're using, or sockets. So they don't really need the analyst doesn't need the GeoPDF all the time. We do have a lot of people that want to and do bring a GeoPDF back into Arc as like a backdrop if they don't have any other data of that area. It's georeferenced, so they're able to put it in its proper place on its proper place on the globe. But the technology we build is really geared toward the end user. And someone who doesn't have a sophisticated system, they just have the free Adobe Reader. And we have enterprise agreements with the Army and the Navy and Marine Corps to actually deploy that TerraGo Toolbar, which gives you all of the interaction and all of the collaboration capabilities. They have that TerraGo Toolbar is authorized for installation on over 3 million workstations in USD.
Well, I think that's an important to note. And just for a lot of our viewers out there, you have to realize that the government perspective, they're only allowed to install certain package. All the software has to be approved. And across different organizations and different, each military base has their own, whitelisted approval list as well. And I'll say that Adobe software, and PDFs is one of those standardized pieces of software. If you try to do anything else, plugins or even specific websites might be blocked. You never know. So having PDFs is truly a standard across the board that's already accepted within the government right now.
That's correct. And we've done a lot of work on that end to get those certifications for networthiness and authorization for installation with the J6 or the comms people to make sure that those kind of things are installed. We also, on the commercial side, we also have other agreements with other organizations, larger organizations. Everyone's not a geospatial person, but I think we've hit this really the time is right now. After Google Earth was released, people started to become a little more spatially aware. But actually doing something with that data is still the void that we're filling, because with the free Adobe Reader and a free TerraGo Toolbar, a user can actually go in and look at the attributes associated to a certain bridge or a road or a utility pole, and actually do red lines and markups directly on that product. I think that's one of the key capabilities from a collaboration side that seems to be missed is in 5 minutes or a 3-minute YouTube video, someone can look at how to use the TerraGo Toolbar and be fully up to speed on how to actually do red lines and markups and hit save. And then either two options, they can either send the PDF back to the analyst where they got it, and the analyst can scrape those red lines and markups right off, and add them back to ArcGIS or to Socket. You can export them as a KML file. You can export those markups just as a shape file. And it's super intuitive and really easy for that user. And that's the person that we're really trying to help educate on the business that we're involved in as geospatial folks. Everything has a place. Everything has a place. A latitude and a longitude and an elevation. Or a negative elevation for that. So we're really trying to help educate from the soldier perspective. There's a saying at the Army Geospatial Center that every soldier is a sensor, and I think we can all relate to that. If there's something that needs to be identified, it needs to be identified in a geospatial way as well. So being able to do those red lines, markups, mark annotations, attribute that data, and then send it back to an analyst so that the analyst can ultimately make a more up-to-date and current product is what we have been accomplishing for the past 15 years. But I think that kind of gets lost a little bit, that collaboration capability.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect, just feeding off of our theme for this session, not just focused on TerraGo, but from analyst to user. That's the theme for this episode. And what I also, based off of what you just said, I also want to kind of get into the topic of what has TerraGo done to improve the GeoPDF process from the analyst to the user. And what are you working on in the near future?
So there are quite a few things. We're really working to make sure that process, that the analyst can actually produce the most user friendly type of product. If you think about it from an ArcGIS perspective and layers and in your MXD, being able to aggregate those layers, maybe just identify collapsing all of the roads and the rivers and all of the different linear features that may be associated to transportation, consolidating those individual layers into a single layer so that the user just sees transportation and they can turn all of those layers on or off at one time. There's obviously ongoing support to try to make the production process much easier, much simpler. There are modernization efforts that are ongoing that are going to be released with ArcGIS Pro so that it's a more seamless kind of interaction and experience. We won't be fully featured when our plugin, the publisher for ArcGIS Pro, is released. It's just about a complete rewrite of our technology. So we do still have founders for the company whose names are actually on the patent for encoding geospatial information in a PDF. So we have all of the brain power there to be able to provide, to move or transition the technology into the pro environment. But it's been a complete rewrite, and we've been working on that for well over a year. We wanted to be able to get it out, and we wanted to announce it during the Esri user conference. But as we are all virtual these days, we're going to probably end up hosting a webinar week, a couple of weeks following the Esri user conference, just so we can make sure that everybody has the opportunity to see what we have been able to do, ask questions, and and set up training sessions or whatever else may be needed.
That's great. No, actually, you brought up a good point. Everybody's at home these days. A lot of analysts are even pushed to work from home these days. So, how much of what you have? How much of what TerraGo has? You mentioned the TerraGo's dashboard, or what? How easy is that for someone to install at home and get working right off the door? Because most folks are probably used to experiencing that at work, already having it on their workstations. Right. But they want to just get started with installing their own applications and get started with performing their own analysis, even if they're assigned to do more open source work in the near term. Mm-hmm. How easy is it to integrate with what you have right now from an individual standpoint?
Yeah, I've listened to a couple of the other interviews that you've done, and obviously a lot of online sessions. And there are a lot of people that are working from home and trying to push all of that analytical work to an unclassed environment. Some of it obviously cannot be, but if you can do it at home, that's just the position that we're in right now. We have made arrangements for people who need to create GeoPDF products still. To be able to get access to our tool set at home. So if you're running ArcGIS at home and you do need, and you normally have the publisher product at your workstation, we're extending license keys to people to work from home. We understand the severity of the situation, and hopefully we do get to some sense of normalcy. But you can download the product directly from the website. It'll be an evaluation version, but feel free to reach out to us, and we'll do everything that we can to help. And I know that so many people are stuck. We're all stuck right now, and we're going to come through it, of course, but we just don't know how long it's going to be. And we're working with customers right now to help make sure that happens. The products are available on the website. Just go to TerraGo.com, and there's a product pull down. Excuse me. And you can go ahead and install it. The toolbar, there's no cost, so you can download that and install it. It plugs directly into Adobe Reader or Adobe Acrobat. So when you run the installer, there's no license for that that's required. And it is unlicensed, but we have support and maintenance type arrangements with the DoD through other contracts.
So what's the difference between the toolbar and the Adobe Reader? Is that just allow you to look at GeoPDFs, or if you have a 3D file, what is used to output that 3D file into a GeoPDF?
So the GeoPDF Toolbar, which is what plugs into Adobe Reader and Adobe Acrobat, that gives you a number of capabilities. And we have a bunch of videos that are on the website. I won't go through all of them, but the key thing is the ability to display coordinates, and you can display up to 3 coordinates at any one time. The DoD asked us to, excuse me. The DoD asked us to make the Military Grid Reference System (MGRS) a default. So that's the only way that you can actually view an MGRS coordinate is with that TerraGo toolbar. Obviously, you can put it in a coordinate calculator and transform, but by default, we actually display MGRS. The ability to do measurements directly on the file, linear measurements, area measurements. There's a JavaScript that is embedded in the toolbar as well to let you do a web service call to Google Maps. So if you don't have any imagery, you could actually just right-click and go to Google Maps. There are all of the markup tools. That whole geospatial collaboration item that we spoke of earlier, that is inside the TerraGo toolbar as well, that GeoPDF toolbar. So you can generate points, lines, polygons, add attributes directly to that, and then just hit save. There's no requirement to define a database file or a PRJ file or anything like that. It's just standard redline markup capability. But all of those markups with the toolbar let the user save those markups and maintain the spatial integrity of those markups as well. And there are a number of other capabilities, of course. We just started leveraging location services on a Windows 10 system. So if you pull up a USGS topo, for example, and turn on the GeoTrack capability, it'll give you a crosshair of where you're actually located. So.
No, thanks for that, Scott. And this actually, I had a question about this as well, but it looks like a question came in from the audience who is curious. It looks like a frequent watcher of our show, because we've had a number of sessions talking about emerging sensor technologies out there, and they want to know, aside from focusing on geospatial imagery data, how does other data such as RF collection data, point data out there, or other types of data, even things that could cross translate into maybe natural disasters, wildfires, earthquakes, etc. How is that revisualized within a GeoPDF beyond just a 3D representation or 3D visualization? If you can,
I think I understand. So being able to kind of aggregate different data sources, data types as well inside of the PDF. We have, there is in the tool, again, with that GeoPDF toolbar, a user can actually import different types of data types as well. So if you have RF data or any other, in the government, we would call that electronics intelligence, any sort of content like that. If you can get that information as a shapefile, you can bring it directly into a GeoPDF as well. So now, one of the key things is it's PDF. So we're ISO 32000 compliant. That's as a technology partner with Adobe. You do not have to have the GeoPDF toolbar in order to view it. And I think I skipped over that question earlier. It is a standard PDF. PDF is PDF. So you don't have to have the toolbar. You just don't get to enjoy all of the other capabilities that are provided with the GeoPDF toolbar. One of them being the ability to import shapefiles. And PDF is inherently used for disconnected type capabilities. It's a file-based workflow, really. But if you do have a connection, a data connection, and you have a GeoPDF open, there is absolutely no reason why you cannot consume that data through a web service or a REST endpoint or whatever the case may be. It's just a configuration challenge, and we can definitely help with that. That PDF, again, it's not as a GeoPDF, it's not just a representation of the content. I mentioned OGC GeoPackage before. That's one of the other key things I think that may not be truly leveraged as much. I know they're doing it a lot in the Army, especially at the Army Geospatial Center. With GeoPackage, you're not just having that implementation. You don't just have a visual representation of the content. You actually have the content, which is a game changer when it comes to moving this inherently large data around across an enterprise. So that's another key capability I think that I really needed to point out.
Once again, thanks for that, Scott. I think we're going to wrap up. I don't have any more questions in from the audience. And is there anything else, any last minute plugs or information you want to talk about with TerraGo, current things going on, or maybe upcoming stuff to look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that initial release ArcGIS of our publisher for ArcGIS Pro is going to be coming in August. So look forward to that. There is also a GeoPDF, just a GeoPDF app that is going to be released in the next few weeks to a couple of months. So you'll be able to just email yourself a GeoPDF and you can open it up in the app directly. There are collaboration capabilities, obviously the same type of collaboration capabilities that there are at the desktop. Everyone's trying to make the transition, obviously, to applications that are used on a smartphone or a tablet. So we're making that transition. We just completed a webinar last week that was educational to help people understand our plugin technology to Socket. All of those webinars are on the website as well. And then we're participating with Esri in the virtual conference. So we don't get to go to San Diego next month, but we're still all going to be working hard, trying to avail ourselves to our customer base and to new people who who may not be aware of what it is that we're doing. There are, like I said, there will be a webinar week, a couple of weeks following that as well. So I encourage you to stay in touch. Feel free to reach out to me either through the website or email, and we'll be happy to help you out. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Adam, and the rest of your team there at Geospatial Frontier for giving us the opportunity to sit in on this with you today. And we look forward to a lot more work with you guys.
Much appreciated, Scott. And I think the audience is appreciated as well, seeing some of the, I think you had a session back in May that we promoted as well. And I think there were folks who were really interested in what TerraGo had to offer with that webinar. And for those interested, it's terragotech.com. Reach out to that site. We'll have all the links to what Scott referenced in our show notes for everybody to go back to and check out. And of course, look for the recorded version of this session in the next 24 hours. So once again, thank you very much, Scott Lee, for joining us from TerraGo. And I'm Adam Simmons from Project Geospatial, signing off. Thank you much.